Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is today, the 20th day of August here. I got a great show with you for tonight. We're going to do quite a few college football previews. Clemson. Will this be Dabo's last year with Clemson? Also, Caitlin Clark, as I said, coming back with a vengeance. Good few thoughts on that. Her first few games back since the Olympics. She's been on fire, as I expected. Huge blessing in disguise for her. Plus, Steve McNair documentary came out. I'm out of Nashville, Titans fans, on Netflix. It was good. It wasn't long enough. It was only an hour. I thought it was going to be a multi-part documentary looking into questions about the murder of Steve McNair, but there is some lessons to be learned in that. And again, I've got more let's see who we have. Ohio State preview, Oregon preview, Miami, FSU, and of course Clemson. So also Jeff Bezos, rumored that he may be interested in buying the Boston Celtics. Looks like they may be up for sale as well. So first, let's take our first and only break, and we'll come back here and hit the ground running in just after a few short announcements here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All right, again, going to be a little bit all over the place today, so you got to bear with me, folks. There's a lot of news coming in. Didn't get everything I want to talk about today, but I did want to really concentrate on the college football game this week because there's Florida State will be playing this Saturday, week 0. But also, we're just that much closer. They'll be playing Georgia Tech in Dublin, another one of those Dublin games on Saturday, folks. So tomorrow, quick announcements. I will be giving my full 12-team playoff tomorrow, folks. So just give you a quick update on that. All right, now. Dabo Swinney, over the past few years, the Clemson coach, just about 5-6 years ago, really looked like the next coming. Won a national championship, Deshaun Watson. Then he won with Trevor Lawrence. Both NFL quarterbacks have gotten second contracts there. Done really well with him. Comes off as a guy who would never leave college football. Very big in his faith and the homegrown team that he built up. The program, quite frankly, I never heard of Clemson doing anything in my lifetime. I know they were good in the late 70s. The Woody Hayes incident where he punched one of the Clemson players in one of the bowl games in 78, the late, great Ohio State coach. But Dabo, this is his 17th year coming into Clemson. And as you know, he has been reluctant to embrace these upcoming changes. There are these changes over the past few years, the NIL, and, of course, the transfer portal. Their rankings have slipped farther and farther down. That being said, they still got a good defense. I do like this quarterback they have. Kobe, Cade Kilbick, Cade Kilbick Jr. Probably jacking this guy's name up. He's coming into his junior year, but he really needs Brett Venables back as the defensive coordinator, who I do not think is working out in Oklahoma. Although he just signed an extension, I think that it will be out on him. The jury will be out on him at the end. This time next year, fans are going to be calling for Oklahoma to move on from Venables, in my opinion. But going back to Clemson, okay, I just mentioned the stuff about the transfer portal, the NIL. Like I said, offense, they've got 9 starters back, include Cade Klubik or whatever. Got a good defense. If they, for whatever reason, not Saturday, but next Saturday, that they have the early 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central start time against Georgia and Atlanta, I wouldn't be surprised if game day wasn't there. They will play an early game there. I expect Georgia to win. They're 13 and a half point, two touchdown league favorites there. If for whatever reason they win that game, you could start to see the momentum build back up for a Clemson team that, if you're a Dabo Swinney fan, listen, a great coach has just stepped down. Two great coaches have left. Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh. That's 2 coaches that he does not have to compete against in recruiting. But that being said, I don't think they're going to win that Georgia game. They play at Florida State on October 5th. Remember last year, Florida State beat them in overtime. Very tough game there. Lost that one. And also last year, they lost that blowout loss to Duke. That was really bad to start the season. But this year, I think they will lose that Florida State game. And I think they'll lose at Virginia Tech on November 9th, which would likely put them out of the playoff here. And I do think that Dabo Swinney, although he is not like the NFL in the past, I think the guy is only 55. He'll be 55 in November, and you got coaches coaching in their late 60s, 70s. You're Andy Reid. Bill Belichick's wanting to come back here. Pete Carroll's still wanting to get back in coaching. He's mid to late 70s here. I just don't see Dabo retiring, but I do think that he's kind of ran his course here at 17 years. Bill Walsh, the former great San Francisco 49er coach, once said that you should change jobs, particularly in the pros, whether it be executive or coach, every 10 years. And maybe you can add a few years onto that in college since you have turnover. But 17 years, been getting pretty grumpy here lately. An offensive-minded guy like a Dabo Swinney. He's another guy that may look at the NFL if a right situation comes about. Hey, what if Doug Peterson gets fired at Jacksonville? Do you want to bring in the former college coach there to coach Trevor Lawrence? I don't know. I think the NFL would seems a lot more appealing per se than it would be 6 years ago for Dabo Swinney. Okay. There were thoughts that maybe he could take back over for Atlanta or for Alabama, because he went to Alabama. That didn't work out. But I do think he does need a change of scenery. He's getting a little cranky. I think they may fire the guy. I doubt it because he's won 2 national championships. They did win 9 games last year. They did win 11 and 22 and 10 and 23. So they've had 3 lost seasons. 2 out of the last 3, and of course the last season with 4 losses there. I got them with 3 losses. They could have 4 losses here as well because Louisville looks good under Brian Brom. They got to play Louisville. South Carolina's never an easy out, but we'll see. He's a coach to kind of keep an eye on per se. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs here, but He's one of those guys that a change of scenery would help him. Like the Sheryl Crow song says, change can do you good. All righty then. I will come back, folks, to the college game here in just a little bit. I'm going to go to this. Woke up at about 5 o'clock this morning. And normally I don't have to wake up till like after 6. I just woke up. I couldn't, I slept pretty good and went to bed pretty early and woke up. And I knew that Netflix had this Steve McNair thing was supposed to release. When they say something's going to release at a certain day, it's not a certain time of day. It's at midnight. The Netflix Steve McNair documentary that people have been talking about. So I went on and watched it. I was going to watch some replay of Newton. I said, no, I'm tired of burnout on all that stuff. Let's put in the Steve McNair documentary on Netflix, which is pretty good. Now, my only knock on it really is a couple knocks. It wasn't long enough. It was only an hour. I thought it was going to be a multi-part documentary, and they were going to look into question the murder and whatnot. Did not go that far into it, but it was still pretty good. It shows some stuff. You hear the interviews with the people that were being questioned in the Steve McNair murder. For example, you hear the man who first discovered Steve McNair, and his name was, let me make sure and get this guy's name right, Wayne. This is a guy who he had, this guy Wayne here was renting. He was doing a co-lease with this apartment, this condo hideout in air quotes, with Steve McNair. And on July the 4th, 2009, 15 years ago, Pickles. I don't understand what happens at time. So July 4th, 2009, this guy goes in, has a key. He has a key to Steve McNair's condo. He walks in, and this is very questionable. His reaction, he sees McNair laying on the ground, and he sees this woman laying on the ground that McNair had been seeing, the woman that worked at Dave & Buster's, the 20-year-old. And instead of calling the police and looking around for blood and stuff, he goes and gets a beer out of the refrigerator. He thinks they're just sleeping. And when you look at the photos, now they do show photos that I did not see on TV of the bloody couch, the walls, the gunshot marks in the walls there. That was pretty interesting to see that. I've not seen that footage before. This gentleman, instead of calling the police, he like I said, gets the beer, then he starts to see the bullet holes and stuff and shell casings. He calls Steve McNair's best friend here. Wayne Nilley's the guy I was just now talking about. Was a former left tackle there, played with McNair, this Robert Caddy. He calls this guy, and he tells him, hey, man, there's something crazy. So I guess the lesson learned, one of the few lessons here, or for what I caught on to this, is this guy knew that he was more worried about protecting himself and staying out of what kind of trouble McNair's then got into, rather than McNair's safety. He was a really fair weather friend, if you say. He knew that McNair, he later got interviewed by the police because McNair's body sit there for an hour after he had called the friend. After he had called the friend, Steve McNair's body sit there, and with the dead body there for an hour, the friend comes up, Robert Caddy, and then he calls 911. Hey, blah, blah, blah. And then they do all their forensics tests and all that. So I thought that was kind of funny and shady. You could kind of that's one of the lessons when you start to get money like that. You start to attract shady people there. Along with that, now also in the documentary, Jeff Fisher was interviewed, and it goes back to when Steve McNair was drafted in 1995. It shows Steve McNair playing at Alcorn State, HBCU, out of historically black college out of Mississippi, third overall pick in 95. It showed the Titans movement. And ironically, I didn't know this about Fisher, or football side of it. Fisher, I knew he got hurt with the 85 Bears. He was a punt return guy. Got hurt, but he was familiar with the defense. And very beginning of the season, he helped Buddy Ryan with the defense that year. We know what happened. They end up winning the Super Bowl, the 85 Bears. He gets the Eagles job. Buddy Ryan takes Jeff Fisher with him. Fisher steps down as a player and becomes a coach and follows Buddy Ryan to Philadelphia until he gets fired in the early 90s, takes 1 year job as a defensive back coach with the Niners, then follows defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan to the Houston Oilers, where the infamous folks, a lot of you older fans know about the fight there between the offensive coordinator and Buddy Ryan with the Texans. And then Bud Adams, make a long story short, fires everybody in 1993 into 94. At 36 years old, Jeff Fisher becomes the head coach there of the Tennessee Titans. Then they get McNair in 95. He sets a few years there. I think it's like Chris Chandler, somebody was the quarterback. And then, you fast forward up to, in 99, he goes through that 99 season, which, I was a big part of. I mean, I went to that opening game, first regular season game against Cincinnati in 99. They won 36-30. I mean, it's a great game. Goes through that and McNair's maturation and stuff. And a friend of mine, I was talking to Corey, who watched the program the other day, and I said, something, watching his film at Alcorn State and watching his maturation as a player, Steve McNair, from 95 till 99, 4 years where Tennessee ended up going to the Super Bowl. If they would have had a Andy Reid, Mike Shanahan type of coach, Tennessee would be back-to-back champions in 99 and 2000 season. 99, 2000. I really do think if they would have had a good offensive-minded head coach, I think with McNair's talent, they could have won the Super Bowl. So it goes back and forth, where it goes from the beginning of McNair, then it pops back into the scene where McNair retires around 08, 09 with the Ravens. Okay, the Titans move on. They try the Vince Young thing, and McNair is 35, 36 years old. It's obvious through this documentary, it's well documented, he was sleeping around on his wife. He's seeing this girl he met at Dave & Buster's. She's 20 years old. She's from Iran. She has a troubled past. She moved up to Nashville from Florida. Like her mom was killed in Iran or something. And lives with this guy that she's seeing, and McNair sweeps her off her feet. He sweeps her off her feet at that Dave & Buster's. He gives this girl a freaking 2007 Cadillac Escalade. That's how O.J. Simpson got Nicole Brown. Just sweeps her off her feet. She's a waitress at the restaurant. Says, I'm going to put you up in an apartment. I'm going to do this. She has the key to the apartment, all this stuff. This is a hidden apartment. And this guy, this Wayne Neely guy, he knows McNair's doing wrong. Okay. And this is a place where he can just, sleep around, go around on town. And, I'm not judging. I'm just telling you the facts. and you could see the lessons to be learned here. There are pictures all around town, him and this young lady, and this guy's playing into it because he's got good money. There's making money. They're just kind of, go along with it and flowing at this little condo. It's hid out pretty close to 2nd Avenue, kind of offbeat there. Drove past it with my dad afterwards, which you just wondered if anybody ever bought that place after that murder-suicide like that. But anyways, so you kind of get a gist of what was going on, rather than as far as the documentary questioning the they did interview slightly a guy, like I say slightly, it was just a few questions to a private investigator who wrote a book at saying that this woman did not kill Steve McNair, but Netflix did not lean into that. They did not lean into that as if there was another person who killed these two people here, McNair and this young lady. It does sound like there's enough evidence going through their tech. This is what the police going through the text messages between him and another woman. That's how it motivated this woman to kill McNair. Is she knows McNair's got a wife and kids at home, but there was another lady that she found condoms and stuff and the text messages and all this stuff. And she gets a DUI just a few days beforehand. He knows she's a little bit troubled. He knows this. But, not to be holier than thou. I'm a guy. Us guys, especially at his age, I'm 7 years older than he was when this happened. He was 36 at that time. We're so caught up as guys, just speaking freely and honesty, that the woman, we're just looking at the physical. She's built really good. She's very attractive. That's what we think about as guys. It's hard to control sometimes, but I know he could tell that woman she's troubled past. You've probably, that's a lesson not to play with her emotions like that, but he was messing around. I get a sense maybe he might have been going through a midlife crisis. He'd been playing football for a long time, had a lot of money, a lot of time, There's an old saying about that can lead to a devil's workshop. So, and as far as the other parts of it, she shot him 4 times, supposedly that she shot herself. People are still questioning. There are some questionable things, and maybe this is some kind of cover up. I'm a little bit leery of the friend leaving, and but people have shady. We saw the OJ documentary Made in America. He attracted shady friends, but I do think the guy that he was a shady guy. The one that first left, I thought he was shady. But supposedly it goes back and say this woman, young lady, had another friend that she bought the gun from. It did not go into much detail there. There's questions that maybe that guy who sold her the gun somehow killed. We don't know if she was seeing him or not. It didn't say that. But this other guy, there was a convicted felon that she bought the gun from. Is the gun used in the murder? Okay. And there were some hints that maybe that guy may have did it. There were some other hints that maybe her boyfriend who came up, they interviewed her boyfriend for the documentary, but supposedly his story checks out, that maybe he did it. I don't know why the police would want to hold back something like that. It just comes off as McNair was pushing the envelope. He'd already gotten DUIs here before. A lot of people, when you're a star like he was, you overlook people's bad behavior. Okay, it's just star treatment. But we know that way before this happened, McNair had gotten in trouble before. Okay, and we know for a fact that through the cell phones, through search, that he was seeing multiple women while he was a married guy. There was an article wrote about Steve McNair back then. I could not find it in the archives. And the NFL tries to cover a lot of this stuff. I think. I think it's just you kind of get a sense that this person wrote an article about it. And it might have been with Sports Illustrated or somebody, but he says McNair was living on the edge. You know, he was living. He was really pushing the envelope, and I could not find that article to reference it. But I remember that author got a lot of criticism, but over that article. And I'm just a journalist at heart too. I want to know the truth, you know. I want to know the truth. And I could not find that article, and I just wondered if someone might have had that taken off. But I do think, going back to that article about him living on the edge, that there was a lot of truth to that. There was just a lot of truth to that story there. I mean, it's a tragedy. Guy's 36 years old. His kids don't have a father and all that. But I think the lesson learned is it really, when you start sleeping around like that, it really, really starts to catch up with you at the end. My dad used to tell me never underestimate a scorned woman. And I do think that's probably what happened. I do think there's some sloppy police work around it. And I do think they try to get it off the pages as quickly as possible. But I don't think anything beyond that, from what I've seen. I don't think anything beyond that. I do think McNair is really a lot of this Steve McNair brought on himself. If he's not trying to pick up 19-year-old troubled women at Dave and Buster's, he would still be around today. You know, at some point you have to have accountability. And I love this guy, Steve McNair. I mean, he brought me joy. I love the type. We talked about it ad nauseum growing up during, but you know, it's I've talked about this with Carlos before. You know, you get these young people to get this kind of money, even though he's still in his mid-30s, probably got married a little young, and you got that time on your hands. Some people do not know how to handle that unless they have a strong kind of foundation about them, you know, and it's really, really unfortunate, you know. But people who grew up like me, some learn, and very rough areas and traumatic type of situations. I'm leery. I've had offers to be with married women all the time. I'm single guy, 43. I've told this story before. There was a woman I used to take classes with when I started Austin Peay as a freshman. She was very good looking. She was his age, 36. I don't know, right? How ironic. But she was making a lot of passes. We were just friends, and, you know, we studied together. But she was living with a cop in Clarksville, and I was not about to mess around with her. That's. She said the guy would come check up on her all the time. I'm like, well, why are you pushing the envelope with me? Why are you trying to get me in? Why are you trying to get me killed, lady? You know? So I just got that little red flag in my head. Some people don't. They don't see that red flag. They don't care about the red flag. You know? So you really, really have self-control over, because stuff like this, you never know who you're messing with and what kind of feel, you know. Of course, again, he's not thinking clearly. He's just thinking, hot woman, do my thing, get out of here, and we'll see what's up, you know. But I would recommend watching. It's a good documentary, and it does question that murder, and it does question the sloppy police work. But it also takes back how they got so famous here in Tennessee and Nashville area. And it takes you back, if you're from Nashville, to that magical year in 1999, where they had a shot to win that Super Bowl against the Rams here, so per se. Pickle says McNair's wife sold his home and had her evicted. Well, so he scorned the wife. The wife is embarrassed, you know. You scorned a young woman that was troubled from Iran, and she did what she did. He was seeing other women beyond her. So he was living pretty reckless there. You know, I mean, it is what it is. You like him as a player, but you reap what you sow more than you sow. It's unfortunate. But anyways, other news. I said on this program, switching gears to the round ball. I'm already 30 minutes in. That was a pretty good little take there on Steve McNair. The Celtics, I said after they won, I said this is a perfect time to sell the Boston Celtics. Okay, you've got two prime players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Your two stars under contract for the next few years. You just got Tatum re-up, massive contract. You signed Brown to a massive contract, who won the MVP in the finals this past year. And you've got Tatum there. You have a coach there that's growing into his job. Some learning curve issues there. You've got Joe Mazzulla, 36 years old. You've got Brad Stevens. He's not even 50. 47-year-old general manager Brad Stevens there. What more can you ask? You got a great arena up there and everything. And the asking price is $6 billion for the Boston Celtics. A few years ago, for the record, the Clippers a few years ago. Time goes by fast. I work a lot, folks. I didn't realize it, but 10 years ago, Steve Ballmer bought the Clippers because of the issues there with their owner. He bought them for $2 billion. They are now worth $4.65 billion just 10 years later. The Celtics, $6 billion. Jeff Bezos, from according to Bill Simmons, he's in the know in Boston. Bill Simmons, big Boston Celtics fan, ESPN, he does his own thing now, says that he thinks Jeff Bezos is interested in possibly purchasing the Amazon guy, the Boston Celtics there. So this is definitely buy high. He's got the money. He's got the money to do it. But I tell you what, this is a great move for the owners if they can pull this thing off here, having bought this team here. The Walt Grosbeck ownership is planning to make the Grosbeck and the partner Steve Paglia. They bought this team back in 2002 for $360 million, 22 years ago. You talk about making some money. That's over 20 times, almost 20 times of what you paid for it back in 2002. This is definitely an interesting. And then of course I don't think he runs Amazon no more, Jeff Bezos, but I'm sure he's got plenty of stock into to Amazon. Amazon's going to be showing some of the games, so everything would complement each other. That's just a rumor right now. We don't know who's going to buy the Celtics. But Bill Simmons is throwing that out there that Jeff Bezos very well may buy the Celtics. Also over the weekend, I do the good scope, bad scope. Here's one where it's good scope here. I said Caitlin Clark will be like a house of fire. She must need I do think she needs rest. She didn't get selected for the Olympics. She's been out, 2.5, 3 weeks now. Came back like a house of fire. Surgeon, they've won 4 or 5. They won 2 straight here. And Clark now, 2 straight over Phoenix and Seattle. 2 big wins. And before the actual Olympics started, they won 4 out of 5 here. And now she is, since the Olympic break, 3rd in the WNBA in points, 2nd in assist, blocks. She's 10th, plus minus. She's 10th. No WNBA player in history has averaged 17.8 per game, which Caitlin Clark currently is averaging. She's red hot right now. She is 29, 5, and 10 in her last game there. She broke Diana Taurasi's record for most 25-5 in games as a rookie. So she's going to be cooking with gas. They're going to be interesting to watch come summertime, okay? Didn't think I'd do with the WNBA story, but I did. I'm staying with the round ball. All right, now, rapid fire, ain't it? Rapid fire, folks. Okay, I better hit the ground running here. Okay, now, Ohio State, page 84 here. Ohio State, I've mentioned this for weeks, kind of teasing this. I've talked about it last Thursday with the Mad New Yorker, by the way. Come Labor Day, we'll have a show that I'm actually working like first time in forever. You know, they want me, they asked me to do a route, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But I will have a show on Monday, Labor Day. We'll be breaking down the NFL, okay? We got Labor Days coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. College football will be opening up. We've got the 12-team playoff again tomorrow. I'll give you about 30, 35 minutes here, maybe longer, of talking nothing but the 12-team playoff. I'll give you my full breakdown of the playoff, break it down and all that good stuff here. I'm going to give you a preview of a few teams today, and I'll talk till I run out of time here. Buckeyes. Sunday. Worked all day Sunday. Worked yesterday. Worked today. This Will Howard guy, he is their new quarterback here. They have brought him over from Kansas State. Will Howard to transfer. Remember last year they had Cal McCord wasn't really playing up to par last year. This Will Howard guy, pretty quick, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but he ran in 9 touchdowns for 350 yards. Excellent dual threat. Going to fit in this offense. I mentioned Chip Kelly here is going to be I don't know if they fired him or he quit or mutually agreed. I think they mutually agreed to go elsewhere. But Chip Kelly's going to be running their offense here. They've got 7 starters coming back on offense. The 8th is going to be obviously this Will Howard quarterback who looks good. I watched some of his film there on YouTube. Quick as a cat and quick decision. He's going to be a big upgrade over their former quarterback, Cal McCord. Ohio State's coming in with a lot of momentum. Urban Meyer says this is one of the Urban Meyer, and this is from Bleacher Report, but I got some sound bites here. Him and their former coach there that they won the championship in the early 2000s also says that this is one of the better teams in a long time here. Jim Tressel also compliments. Here's some sound bites here. Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel on this year's Ohio State team.
But as of now, this is one of the most talented rosters in the last decade, maybe ever. I mean, that's a big statement. They got to play, but you look at the quality of athlete at every position, I've never seen anything like it.
And I don't know
this
if
Jim
I've
Tressel.
ever seen that many great players in that building all at once. Every position, every place you turned. And so Ryan's done a great job. Ohio State has done a great job.
Wow, that was from Bleacher Report there. 11-2 last year. They got humiliated against Arizona in the bowl game, or Missouri in the bowl game. Of course, we know they lost to Michigan. Michigan's got 3 players coming back, and they got a new coach here, and they're not going to be that good. They're totally different. Team here. Ohio State, after looking and really studying this thing over the weekend, I just went down. Oh, there it goes back up. That's the only regular season game I think they lose that Oregon game at Oregon, but I do think that they will they'll come back. Remember, Oregon is in the Big Ten now. Yeah, I looked up the Pac-12. It's like 2 teams in it now. It's the Pac-2. Anyways, so I do think they will lose at Eugene on October 12th, but they will beat Penn State on November 2nd. They'll beat Michigan this year. They'll beat Iowa. They'll beat Michigan State. They'll beat Nebraska, but I hear Nebraska's really good. Going to be a lot improved this year. But I do think this one-loss Ohio State team will beat they'll be the Big Ten winner. They will beat Oregon in the rematch in the Big 12 championship game. So I think that's going to be really interesting for them. Now, going back to actual Oregon now, Oregon could very well win that game, but Oregon could slip up against the Wisconsin on November 16th because Wisconsin's coming off a late bye. They play at Oregon State, who's got their head coach did go to Michigan State, but Oregon State matches up pretty well with them at Oregon State. They could lose that game. But other than that, I think Oregon, otherwise, who Brett McMurphy, very respectable college writer here, claims that they are going to be they should be his number one. They would be his number one preseason team in the country. 17 starters coming back, including Dylan Gabriel as a transfer from Oklahoma. They're going to be one of the better teams in the country here to play. Now, they end the season November 30th at Washington home. Now, remember, Washington's got a new coach now. Their coach is over at Alabama. I think they're going to go undefeated during the regular season, and they lose their championship games, which would put them as an at-large team. I just said it, of course. And this is going to be part of my they will lose their championship game to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and Ohio State will get one of those top 4 division winner teams that will get that first round bye week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Miami. Now, Miami, Ben Howell, Miami's coach. They're my team that's going to make the big jump this year, in my opinion. University of Miami, if I can find their page here. I thought I had their page on here. Well, let me see. Did I have the Hurricanes on here? Page 126. Okay. I've got my notes, but also I've got my Phil Steele magazine, which is really good here. Mario Cristobal, don't let me down, man. Don't let me down. Like the Beatles song says, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Hurricanes, 17 starters also coming back here. They've got Cameron Ward Jr. This guy's a transfer from Washington State. 25 touchdowns, ran for 8 touchdowns. Nice dual threat quarterback here. This guy reminds me of Jalen Daniels, the quarterback now that's with the Washington Commanders, who last year won the Heisman Trophy with LSU. I do think that these guys are going to play well this year. That being said, they could lose next Saturday, not this coming up Saturday. They could lose at Florida next Saturday. I don't think they will, though. I think that they're going to win that game. And I think that they're going to make that big jump from that 7-6 to they're going to lose. They'll lose either at Louisville or Florida State. But either way, I think this team is going to go to the ACC championship game. And I think they're going to win the ACC championship. Okay. Now remember, they're competing with Clemson and they're competing with Florida State. Okay. But just judging this team, judging Cristobal in year 3, being the recruiter that he is, I do think they're going to get into the playoff, because if they win the ACC, one of these big, that's one of the Power Fives, they're going to end up getting into this 12th team playoff here. So Hurricanes are a big breakout team for me here. I'll talk Florida State because I do think Florida State, I don't think they're going to make it. But the fact that they did go undefeated in the regular season last year, I think they're worth talking about, kind of like a Notre Dame per se. The more I think about it, Mike Norvell coming back here. Remember, they lost their quarterback, Jordan Travis, here. But they have this former Oregon State quarterback, former Clemson quarterback, if you all recall. This guy was a 5-star player, DJ Uglia. He's got one of those weird names, last names like Nico. He's underachieved as a 5-star. He has not quite lived up to that. Okay, senior. I remember his freshman year. I don't know what happened to these years. It seemed like he was a freshman, but he's never really fully developed here, in my opinion. But he is playing with Florida State now. He's got a lot to prove here. Florida State has had some good players and good, over the last. I mean, obviously, they were undefeated last year. Jordan Travis gets hurt at the end. They end up not getting into the not getting into that 4-team playoff. But this year, I think they're going to come up a little short. They've got 10 starters coming back. I do think that they're going to lose at Miami this year. I do think that they're going to lose at Notre Dame this year at South Bend. They've got a stretch here where they play at Miami on the 26th. They've got North Carolina at home, was never an easy out now, on the 2nd of November, and then at Notre Dame on the 9th. I think they'll lose 2 of those 3 games there. They could lose. Oh, and then they've got Clemson at home. So Clemson's going to have the edge with the quarterback there. They're going to lose 2-3 games. I think they're probably going to fall out of it. But we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, they're a team of interest here coming up. So let's see if I got everybody squared away. Yeah, I told you about Clemson. I told you about FSU. Ohio State and Oregon. As of right now, I do think that Georgia's going to make the playoff, okay? I do think that Ohio State's going to make the playoff, okay? Those two I have a lot of faith in that they're going to – I do think the Miami Hurricanes are going to make the playoff as a winner. And I'm leaning towards – and I'll have you this answer tomorrow. I've already mentioned teams like Ole Miss. I read yesterday that Ole Miss they've led the league in transfer. They actually have the best transfer portal players coming into Ole Miss in the entire country. Okay, and plus they've got 20 of 22 starters coming back. Ole Miss, this may be the best Ole Miss team that we've ever seen. And I know Eli Manning played on some pretty good teams, but they weren't possible championship teams. The bar for Ole Miss is really high. I don't remember Ole Miss being number 6. Now, Mississippi State, when Dak Prescott played on that team. Now, Mississippi State was the number 1 team in the country at one time. I never thought we would see today that the Cowbells, remember the Cowbells? Alabama beat them. Now, Ole Miss did beat Alabama a couple of times with Hugh Freeze, but they never really stayed this high ranked for a long time. So we'll see. I mean, maybe Ole Miss falls apart, but mind you, you got guys like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown went there. He can be a little quirky sometimes, a little annoying there. Sometimes there, but oh God, I forgot the guy's name now. He's so obnoxious. Sometimes Lane Kiffin is he's doing pretty good. I was thinking about guys like Lane Kiffin, And I was thinking about the Texas A&M coach there, Jimbo Fisher, and I think certain coaches, Brian Flores, thank you, Pickles. Brian Flores, the Dolphin. This was in the news. I wanted to do some sound, I'd actually get time to it, but this was in the news today yesterday that on a podcast or whatnot. I think it was Dan Le Batard. It's down in Miami. Tua saying that Brian Flores said he was bad. He sucked every day. Told him that you're bad. You don't deserve to be here. Like almost like he was trying to break him down and build him back up. But he said they never got along from the start. Him and because that was Chris Greer. That was Chris Greer's player, the general manager with the Hurricanes or with the Dolphins, and of course, Flores says, I want to learn and evolve as a coach. So Flores realized that Bill Belichick's assistants, all of them look like people who have no communication skills. Okay, whether from Joe Judge, Matt Patricia, who's that other guy, Josh, whatever his name is, Pickles, the former offensive coordinator. They're good position coaches and good, decent coordinators here. And I think my point is, or going back to that, Flores and Jimbo Fisher and Lane Kiffin when he was at USC, Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, when Josh McDaniels, thank you. Those guys hang on. You feel like you got the best job, and you hang on too tight, and you press. And when you press and you hang on too tight, you don't trust other people. Lane Kiffin was too he wasn't ready for that USC job. I feel like he's more ready and mature now. He didn't trust anybody. Brian Flores wanted to do everything at Miami. He was hanging on so tight that he had a really it was a 5-minute apology that he said. And I sense that I can see that about coaches, and that very well may be the issue. And I mentioned this the other day with Nick Sirianni from the Eagles. He could get fired this year. They've got a loaded team and high expectations. Now, Jalen Hurts has not thrown an interception in camp yet, and like 130 throws or something like that. That's what I've been reported, whatever. And it's at some point you have to delegate. You can ask Nick Saban about this. You have to trust other people. You have to teach others. Andy Reid talks about this all the time. Look at Andy Reid's assistants. Parcells wasn't the best X's and O's guys of a Bill Belichick, but Parcells was a better teacher than Belichick. Look at Parcells' tree. Belichick was from it. Sean Payton is from his coaching tree, and but you get these coaches here, and they just hang on too tight sometimes. Hanging on that's a form of insecurity, He had long coattails, but Belichick's assistants, they lack communication skill. He never taught them how to be a head coach. He was doing everything. He delegated their specific task to them, and I sense that Belichick did not show them how to be independent coaches. He did not let them grow in their position. We know he cut off people from the general manager side of things as far as picking the players, and that's why a lot of GMs or assistants left. They want to get out of there. He was doing all the picking, and they were terrible. He was doing too much. He had too much on his plate here, and hopefully he's evolved from that. He's going to be on the Peyton Manning thing. So, but I said all that because I think that hopefully Brian Flores will get another opportunity. By listening to what he said, He's a good coach. But this isn't the NFL is and even a lot of college now. You got to have that quarterback rolling. You've got to have a fluid offense. And like Nick Saban was telling Matt Eberflus in the Hard Knocks documentary, he says you got to coach quarterbacks different, man. You have to coach these guys different. If you holler at them like you're coaching a linebacker, you don't want them thinking too much. You want these quarterbacks reacting. Think, react. Think, react. Think, react. You don't want them to, oh, God, I can't do this. I can't do that. He's hollering at me. He's making me nervous. You got to have that. And, Pickle says Romeo Crennel, Bill O'Brien turned into a loose cannon at the end. Romeo Crennel was fired twice. He was hired as an interim coach with Kansas City. The next year, they thought, oh, God, this was stupid. What were they thinking? Now, Charlie Weiss wasn't bad. He just wasn't suited for college recruiting. Once he realized he had to recruit like that, he did good with that first year. If you remember, he won 10, 11 games with Notre Dame. He was doing great with other players. But then when it come to him recruiting, he wasn't that good. Charlie Weiss, remember him? Pickles. So Bill Belichick has one of the worst coaching trees ever. The most successful coach of all time, worst coaching tree ever for that level of success. Fired more times than Davy Crockett's rifle. Yeah, all his assistants have been fired. And now after that came out with Tua, I mean, Flores had to get on the podium. He's like, man, that man can run my career. I mean, he was just telling me, hey, that's that every day. I mean, that's the number 5 pick overall. You can't talk to your top player like that. You're not going to win anything. Jeff Fisher went on and on, even though he's a defensive guy, about his relationship with Steve McNair, even past when he left as a Titan and went to Baltimore and stuff. You just wish you could have talked to him about living on the edge like that. So tomorrow, folks, I'll be back on here. 12-team playoff. You've already got a preview here. I think a team like Tennessee's probably going to make it. I'm Ole Miss. I just went on and on about Ole Miss. Georgia, 2 running backs lost. I still have to look at Texas. I don't think Texas is going to win it now, but I do think there's still a good chance that they could slide in as a at-large team. You've got 4 teams will have bye weeks. Okay. I'll explain all this tomorrow. I've got it all written down. I'm going to go through this slowly tomorrow, and I'm going to pick. And Vince Young was on the Colin Cowherd show yesterday. He seemed like he's grown up a lot since he's like an assistant AD at Texas. So he must be doing something right. They wouldn't keep him around, but he just said that his biggest regret was not putting in more work. And I thought, well, I could have told you that. So anyways, folks, if you like the show, share the show again. My 12-team playoffs will be on here tomorrow. And just by going through this, I think it's going to be a lot easier than I thought it really originally would be. So make sure and tune in tomorrow. I'll have plenty to talk about. Again, please share the show. And thank you for watching the Real Sports Scope. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Good night, everybody.